So the biggest mystery that came out of the Xenoblade 3 trailer was this guy. Who in the hell is he? What in the hell is he? Why in the hell is he? These are all the questions that I'm going to be trying to answer in this video. Be warned, however, that there will be some major Xenoblade spoilers throughout this video, so you have been warned. Anyways, let's jump right into it with what we know so far. Monolith has been very coy with sharing information about this guy. We don't know his real name, who his voice actor is, or what his purpose is in the game, but there are some bits that we can make some assumptions on. Firstly is the fact that he suddenly appears before the party. Now don't take this literally as in he manifests himself and appears out of the blue, because we see him holding what appears to be a Kivas and Agnes soldier in the very first scene of him, so he likely has wandered in from somewhere else. Secondly, he appears to be targeting Mio. We can see an additional cutscene from the official JP website, which shows us an additional scene of this guy facing off against Mio and Noah. Interestingly, this means that the demon targets Mio twice in this scene. This could be a coincidence, as we after all haven't seen the full cutscene, but it could be that he is specifically targeting Mio for some reason. Thirdly and finally, he is of course Mr.Wild. Now, the real final thing that we know is that Mr.Wild disappeared shortly after Noah and Mio interlinked. Now this will have some interesting implications when we discuss who this person might be in a little bit, but for now it's interesting to see that he didn't stand around for long. What is unclear from this text, however, is whether he disappeared immediately after or put up more of a struggle and fled afterwards. With all this in mind though, what could he be? Many speculate that he could be an Ouroboros fusion of a multitude of characters. Comparing the three confirmed Ouroboroses together shows that there are certain characteristics and similarities that they all share. All of them, for instance, have this same type of core on their bodies, have what looks like eyes on the sides of their heads, and seemingly manifest blades like they do normally. If we apply these things to the giant, however, we come up with some inconsistencies. For instance, the cores on the giant's body do resemble those of the other Ouroboros, but there are some massive changes, such as him having two orbs and them having the symbol that represents infinity within them. The eyes on the side of the head also appear differently. However, while they do look like eyes, instead of them being human eyes, they seem to resemble that of a reptile, like a snake or dragon. He also manifests weapons the same as the other Ouroboros forms, but his weapons are primitive in comparison. Lastly, he appears to be much more beastly and organic than the other more mechanical Ouroboros forms. This even goes as far as giving him a fully functioning mouth with teeth, which is excluded from the other figures. Even though he's not the same as the others, there is no doubt that they are similar, and so the only conclusion I can arrive at is that he is a different type of Ouroboros, if one at all. The main theory that I have seen joked around is that he's a fusion of two Ouroboroses, which is why he has two cores and these different qualities, but I don't think this is the case. I personally believe he is a new enemy type that will be introduced into Xenoblade 3, known as Mobius. In the Japanese trailer, there is an effect called Mobius Slayer. Slayer being the effect which in prior games dealt increased damage to specific enemy types. Mobius may also be a reference to the Mobius strip, a mathematical object that is best described as a loop with a single half twist that makes it a one-sided shape, and it is used as a way of understanding fourth dimensional objects. The Mobius strip can also look coincidentally like an infinity symbol, which is based off of the Ouroboros. I think these Mobius type enemies are the origin of the Ouroboros power, and the party's interaction with this one is what will lead them to being able to use Ouroboros. But the question of what his true identity is still lies unanswered, but I have been able to come up with three people who I think he could secretly be, based on what we know so far. These three have been identified through different qualities that this giant seems to have, so let's look at the first candidate. Something that has stood out in my mind has been this voice line.
It's a wild ride, this passage of fate.
Other than giving us a new meme, the latter portion of this voice line really insinuates that this creature is familiar with the events of Xenoblade 1, as if they were one of the key players within the events of that story, which is why my first idea for who he might be is Dixon. Now, as you probably all know, Dixon was one of Zanza's disciples, and his true race was that of the ancient giants, and here we start to see some similarities. This demon does in some capacity resemble the giants that we know from Xenoblade 1, and considering it seems like they, or more specifically Dixon, could shapeshift in the first place, I don't think it's insurmountable for the demon to be him. He's even referred to as the mysterious giant, which could be a reference to the giants of Xenoblade 1. Of course, there is a problem with this theory, which is of course that he's supposed to be dead. Even Zanza gives us confirmation of this, so unless Dixon fooled a god and faked his death only to hide out in this new world of Ionios for all this time, then it may mean that this suggestion isn't his true identity. So let's look at another candidate. Another interesting part of the trailer is this scene where he slams his fists into Tyon's barrier. What's strange is that he doesn't appear to be using the same power that he has been previously, as the energy which he is emitting seems to be this dark purple energy, and we have seen something like this before from Malos. Now yes, like Dixon, Malos also appeared to kick the bucket at the end of his respective story, but we do hear him speak to Numa while she is taking control of Ion, and this could have been foreshadowing for his return, especially if he was using thought waves in this scene. You know, like the ones that Zanza uses to speak to Mayneth with. Even Alvis was shown doing the exact same, and he is speculated to be Ontos and Aegis, just like Malos. Ouroboros in Noctism also has a second meaning other than eternity, which is the soul of the world. In this instance, if Alvis was Ouroboros and he became the soul of Ionios, then I think it's possible that Alvis could communicate with Malos through these thought waves and revive or rebirth him in the form of this creature. But what about the third possibility? Well, this last one's a bit more out there, but what if it was L? Now this may seem like a strange choice to some of you, as L seemingly has no resemblance to the demon, until you look at his concept art. This is supposedly L's true form, and it depicts the image of a demonic looking figure. Need I say more on physical resemblance? What's also interesting is that L refers to himself plurally, almost as if he has multiple personalities or beings inside of him, and so this demon from Xenoblade 3 may be one of these other selves which resides within. Jumping even further down the rabbit hole, I also think that L could be Malos as well. This is purely speculation, but his name L may be a reference to Logos, his true name, and this could be his new appearance if what I mentioned before is correct. I have no idea where to start though on what this would mean for Xenoblade X, so we'll leave this here for now. That leaves one final question to be answered. What will his role in the story be? Most Xenoblade characters are actually based on characters from Xenogears, Monolith's older title. Therefore, I believe the same thing will happen here, and I even have an idea of who. Graf. For those not aware, Graf is one of the antagonists of Xenogears, and he challenges the protagonist multiple times throughout their adventure, creating obstacles for them to overcome. This isn't done for malicious reasons, however. Graf simply is trying to help the group grow stronger so that they can defeat the real evil within the game, via his own twisted methods. In this sense, I think the Giant and Graf are the same. I mentioned before that this enemy may be the origin of the Ouroboros power, and to get the group to wield this power, he forces them into combat, where it is forced to manifest. In this way, the Giant is acting as a teacher, schooling the party in how to control this power, so that it can be used for the good of the world. If I'm correct on who the Giant is also, then this would be an excellent chance for those to redeem themselves, and help create a better world. Once the party has mastered the Ouroboros ability, this Giant may even reveal his true identity, and join us on our adventure as a 7th party member, as there may be references within this game too, but that's a video for another time. This pretty much sums up my thoughts on Mr.Wild Ride. Let me know who or what you think he might be in the comments below, and if you found this video insightful, consider hitting the subscription button so that you can get notified every time I bring you some more Xenoblade content. I appreciate you all for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one, folks. Peace.